Okay. So as I was showing you, we are going to work with this truss. So the first thing we have to do is to upload different things. So let's load families and let's work with structural trusses. Okay. We open this and here we see all the families that we have. And then we have to find something that is similar to the one that we are using. And I think this Warren truss, this one with top chord, truss, whatever, this is the most similar because as you can see here, we have a vertical element, two diagonals, vertical element, and two diagonals. So it looks like this one. We have a vertical and a diagonal here and another there, this vertical one, and then this diagonal and that other diagonal. Other elements or other trusses. Oh, no. Yeah. Well, so I'm going to select this one, the Warren truss with 10 elements. 10 means that we have 10 spaces between vertical elements. So I'm going to select this one and I'm going to, well, to understand what we're doing, I'm going to change to level 0. And on level 0, I'm going to insert structure, truss, and we have here this Warren truss. So I'm going to insert this here. Okay, so it doesn't have anything to do with the building. I want to see just how the truss, what the truss looks like. And now make sure that if I select the south elevation, I have to move this sign here. And now I can see the south elevation. And on the south elevation, this is the truss. I go to fine detail, and you see that here we have different elements. Okay. Now we can edit these trusses. We can edit profile, and if I edit the profile, I can make it higher, lower. Okay. And I can even change the elements I have here. Okay, so I'm using the the beams here are steel elements, okay, because usually the truss is made of steel elements. But now I want to change this to, no, those families are not working. Well, it's still happening, the blinking screen here. Okay, so I'll try to do my best. Anyway, you are supposed to change this into wooden families. So probably in this file, we don't have wooden families, and we have to insert other wooden families from the families that we have in Revit. But this is the way it works. So we can work with this truss, and first we need to count how many elements we have. We have 1, 2, how many spaces we have between two vertical elements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, we have 10. And if we look at the example, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this 7, well, it doesn't have a vertical element, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Can we change that in Revit? We can, but we cannot use edit family or edit profile. We have to remove truss family. Okay, so if we remove the truss family, then each element, it's an individual element, and I can delete it. So if I have, I start with this one. Okay, so I start with a diagonal that goes from left to right, and it goes up. So I can start with this one, it goes up, then it goes down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this is the seventh. Okay, so I can remove all these elements. And then I can make this element shorter and this element shorter. Okay, we are getting closer to this. And can we, if we use this kind of, now this is not a truss anymore. This it's a, yeah, so those are different elements. It used to be a truss, but it's not a truss anymore. But now we can align this to this. Let's see what happens. We have to unjoin elements. That doesn't work. Okay. Does it work here? No, it doesn't. And if we see the 3D view, look, looks weird. Okay, so we have to be careful with these kind of things because, well, sometimes this is not working. Even if we create these things. On the other hand, I can move these elements, so each element is independent. But for some reason, when I try to align this here, it doesn't work. Okay. So I have to figure out what to do with this. Can I move it in this direction? Yes, I can move it in this direction, but somehow this is still connected here, and I don't want this to be connected. Okay, so somehow I have to remove that link. If you are doing this, well, sometimes you even change the plane of the truss. Okay, so now it's correct, but sometimes you lose track of what you are doing. Okay, so working with trusses, it's a solution, but it's not the solution. I don't mean it's a bad thing, but sometimes might not work. What I would usually do before doing this is to work with the section. This is where I have the original drawing. And here, at least we have the grid lines. Okay, so the grid lines are giving me an idea of what the truss should look like. I'm going to work with model lines, and I'm going to create the truss. Okay, so I'm going to draw something similar to a truss. And then I will try to adjust the truss to these auxiliary lines that I have created. And that's why I have the grid. So on the grid, I have this point, and the first line went from this point to that point. This is the first bar, diagonal one. And then the second goes from this to the starting point of this grid. And then it goes to that point here, and then that point there. Am I doing something wrong? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so there's something that is not working well. Point. Okay, something doesn't work well because we should have like 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We should have 7 because in this picture we have one, the spaces between vertical elements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So that means that there's a grid line that is missing here. I just missed a grid line. Where is it? Let's find out on the plan. On the Okay, so here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, probably because I have started on the wrong place. Section 1. Yeah. Okay, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I think we have to start here. Okay, first, this is the second, third, fourth, now fifth, make sure we have this intersection. Now I continue with these grid lines. Sixth, this point, and then the seventh, it's well, it's somewhere here. Let's stick to this point. No, I don't like this point. Let's make it. Okay, so now we have traced the truss, and with the vertical grid lines and these lines here, we are going to try to work with the truss on the south elevation. Why don't we say this? Probably because it's not wireframe. Okay, so at least we have this line, and we have to align does it work? Yes, it works. And join elements. Okay, and now we can align this diagonal to that one and join. And now the next one, we can move this here, join, and now we align this one here, join. Now we move this one at this point. Now we align this here, join. Okay, so can we trim? It would be great. Yes, we can. Okay, so little by little, we are creating the right truss with the right shape. But first, we need to create the shape itself, and then we have to align elements. So that element will be aligned here, join, trim, and now we have this here, and trim, here, trim, and finally I can move this one. Okay, so now this roof, this top chord is not, I think it's only connected to this one. So now if we unjoin this element, I think we can work with this and nothing terrible will happen. And align this and this one, yeah. Okay, so once we unjoin the top chord to the vertical or diagonal elements, then I can align the top chord there. And then we can trim. Oh, something wrong has happened. Now the problem is that for some reason things have moved. This and I want to that. Okay, that's good. For some reason, the vertical elements the vertical grids, sorry, don't show up here in the south elevation. So I will go to the section and I will create more model lines because I need vertical lines because I don't see the grid lines and I don't know why. So I'm just trying to deceive the software. Multiple. Okay. So now from the south elevation, we see these green lines, and then I can align the columns or the vertical ones to this one. Oh, I missed these two. So I go back to the section and here, and the last one was there. I go back to the south elevation, and now I align these. This. Okay, we're getting there. Now we trim and we trim. For some reason, I can't trim those two elements. So no problem, because I will adjust the lengths. And if trimming doesn't work, like in this case, you can always send this and send that. Okay, it looks like a truss now in the 3D view. We still have this one. Okay, so apparently I can't trim this, but I can drag this. Oh, we will figure out what goes wrong with this cord. Mm, the bottom cord. But well, this is something similar to what we want. Okay, so we have started with a truss that somehow is similar to the one that we want to create, and by not editing profile, we are just removing the truss family, and then we are working with elements, but they are still connected, there are still points of connection, so we have to move it, and then we have to join all the elements so that we can end up having something like this. Then we can always use our good friend. So imagine that we extend this. We can always use cope. Okay, so this is, we can, if we are working with the steel structure, we can go to steel and cope on meter. But even if we are not working with steel, there is, if we select this cone, we have this cope here, and then we can select the first element, the second element. It's just the other way around. We have to set, this is the cope, this is the first, this is the second, and we have a cut line here. Okay, we'll do it again. Cope, this is the first element, this is the second, and we do have this. If we want to make it even better, we can extend this up to this point, then we can use cope, first, second, okay, and then we can extend this, use cope, first, second, and there you go. We can also select this one, cope. Well, you see what we have done, and we have extended the vertical one too much, so it can be. Oh, but if we do this, that's tricky. Let me do this. Select this, cope. This one. Now I select this one. Okay, that works. Okay, so we have a decent detail here. It can be even better if we select this, go first, second, okay? Perfect. So with a little effort, we can create perfect connections between these lines. The problem is that this is made of steel, okay? In this case, we're working with a steel truss, but in this building, this is a wooden truss. So we have to insert this laminated wood or glued timber beams or elements, and then we have to work with this kind of elements for the truss. But I think we are good now. I'm going to do it again. I will, well, I have traced all these elements here, so I won't delete all these lines. I want to make it even better, so I'm going to trim all these profiles. This is a little weird because here's where we have these two yeah, you remember that we have this connection between these two structural walls. I don't like this, so I'm going to move this here. And then I'm going to align south. And I'm going to align this. Okay, it's better now. Okay. So I have these, the green lines. I'm not going to delete these green lines because I'm going to do the same. Try to insert the wooden elements. Okay, so I have done this with steel elements. Now we're going to make it with wood. So I'm going to save just in case. And now I'm going to delete everything. But I have the drawing there. Okay, so I have to insert load families, and now I have to try to work with structural framing. I'm going to insert structural framing. I'm going to use wood. And this is the blue laminated southern pine or western species. I don't know, up to you. I'm going to use pine because in the place where I was born, there was a lot of pines. So let's say open. And here we have to select, I think we saw this table or this schedule last time. We have a lot of elements here. And these are the dimensions. So this is 10 inches by 56 inches. I'm going to insert this last one, this 10 by 77, so that you can understand what we are doing. Okay, so I'm inserting this glue laminated pine family. And now if I go to the top view and I go to structure beam, now you see that we have this blue laminated southern pine, and it's 10.5 times 77. I am going to insert this. And this is what we have. Okay, so it's an element that has 10 inches, the thickness is 10 inches, and the height is 77 inches. Does it make any sense? Well, maybe there might be elements with this kind of dimension, but so you can go back and insert the element that you want, or we can edit type. I think it's better because the other table is overwhelming. So I'm going to select this one. I'm going to edit type, and I think I'm going to duplicate, and this is 10.5 times 77. So I'm going to create a blue laminated element with 12 by 15, 16. And now B is 12, and this is 16 inches, is 0 feet, and 16. Okay, so this is B is the width, D is the height. I click OK, and this is my new, this is a 12 by 16 laminated wood. Okay, so now in this beam system, by default, we have this one. Before, we had these MW shapes or these W shapes. But if we select this by default, not the 10 by the 12 by 16, if we select this by default, every time we are creating a beam or a structural element, we are working with this one. Will it happen the same when we are working with trusses? So let's find out now. Okay. I'm going to work with truss. So I'm going to insert structure, trusses. I want this warren. But now I'm going to make it better because I'm going to insert the warren truss here, and I'm going to end the warren truss like there. Okay. And what happens now? It happens something that I don't want. Okay, so let's do it again. I'm going to insert the truss from this point to that point. Okay, now it looks a lot better. But what is more important, now this truss is made of wooden structural element. I don't know where we can find the element here. I know there should be a way to change maybe edit type. Okay, so here we can set the framing type. Okay, so if we set here, we can select this one. By default, we have selected this one, okay, because we have selected the beam, and then when we are inserting the truss, by default we have this one. But there's a way to change the elements of the truss. I could have done this with the steel bar. I could have changed all these by selecting this. I can edit type, and I can change the vertical webs, the diagonal webs, the bottom chords, and the top chords. So I can change all these to the element, the structural element that I want. But I want to do it again because I know it's difficult. So I will do it again, and I will repeat the process so that we can understand how it works. Okay. So first, as I told you before, we can edit profile, But by editing the profile, the only thing I can do is to make the truss higher or lower. So it's not, well, it's not bad, but then we have to adapt this to that shape. First, I can change the level because this level is level 0. Okay, so this doesn't start on level -12. I can change it. Why? Well, it doesn't matter. I can use the edit profile to do this, so I can align level 12 to the bottom core, and now it changes. And then I can edit the profile, and I can make it higher. Okay. So the closer the original shape to the final shape, I think the easier to understand. I think. But now we can't do anything else. So now we have to remove truss family, and by removing the truss family, then we have to start aligning things correctly. So the first thing we have to do is probably to delete all the elements that we don't need. Okay, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so I have to remove this one. So those are all the elements that we really don't need. Can make it shorter. Can make that shorter. Yeah, this is the starting point. And then I can start aligning all these elements. So I can select this one, align, and I don't like this because I can't select the midpoint. Well, that happens because I'm working in the 3D. It's better if we work with the elevation, because if we work with the elevation, you see that we can select this middle point. So let's do it again. I want to align this. This, then the middle point. Okay, that's better. Now the second one is this. Now this and that. Join. Now this and vertical. This diagonal. This vertical. This diagonal. We're almost there. And this one. Okay, so not bad. And finally, we have to connect this to this. And what if we connect this to this one? No, it's actually this one. Okay, let's see in the 3D view. Yeah, I think now we have to fix this. We have to fix this one. Okay, so there are elements that are still connected, and then we have to join them all. I think now everything is looking well. And now we have to start trimming the elements. So let's start. Um, so it's good that we have this vertical one that is the highest, because first we want to trim the diagonal elements with the vertical one. So I select this, well, it's code. The first one, the vertical, and we have this right connection. Now this one, the vertical, and I have this nice connection here. And with this, probably I will have to extend this one up. Then I will have to extend this one like this. And now go the first element, the vertical. This element and vertical. Okay. So this looks good. This looks good. What about this one? I have to extend this and that. Now go first vertical, second vertical, and probably we should be doing the same here. So I'm going to code the first element and the vertical. You see that here we have something weird, so we have to code this again with the horizontal one, and now we have this perfect connection. Then I extend this, and I should be doing the same. Go. Okay, okay, so now this connection is great here. Here, go. Horizontal. What's this? Good. This disappears. And now if we extend this, okay, have to align this again. Okay, go. This. Oh. Hmm. How can I fix this? I think I have to extend the horizontal one. Vertical. Open it. Okay, here the problem is that if I move this, yeah, I have, yeah, I'm destroying everything that I have already done. So we better don't move this. But what can I do to? Okay, I'll figure it out later. But the thing is that we need to go this with the vertical one. Okay, I think I can extend the vertical. Yes, and now I can code this in vertical. There you go. Perfect. And now we have to extend this. Like sometimes it doesn't work. Why? I don't know. Okay. If it doesn't want to make a great connection with this one, leave it. Don't mess with Revit. Yep. For some reason, there is something here that is not working. Anyway, go. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Finally, I think we should be working. So this is the top chord, and we have to probably go this and this. Now this shows up, but if you drag this down, not that much. Okay. Well, you can continue to do this. The most important thing is that now we have a truss that looks nicer than before. So even if you are having trouble coping and getting good connections, at least try, okay? Because it's difficult because we have removed the truss family and we are working with different elements and they're still connected to each other. So the diagonals are still connected to the verticals and sometimes doing this doesn't work that well. So if sometimes you can't have a perfect connection or perfect problems that if you do this, go here. So okay, it's good enough because finally we will be covering this beam with the roof itself. So I don't think it's a great issue. And that's the only thing I don't like. So can I extend this without creating a mess? Yes. Okay. Um, let 0, let 10. Now we have to place the truss in the right place. Is it selected? Make sure that you select all the elements, the top chord, the bottom chord, and the diagonal and vertical webs. Then you can go to level 10, and then we can move it from the midpoint up to this grid line. Remove coping. Oh, no. Ah, my God. Well, that's interesting. Maybe we should have started working with the truss on the right grid line, because if you move it, this is what happens. I'm going to move it again, and now I'm going to work with the east elevation. Okay, move it here. Yep. So moving that truss can cause these kind of things. Okay, so when you are doing this on your own, make sure that you have inserted the pin on the right position, because apparently Revit doesn't like moving this. Or maybe can we create a group? If we create a new group, then it shouldn't happen. Let's move it again. Nope. I don't know. As I told you, insert the the first truss, the original truss, on the right grid line, and then start working with it, because I don't know, by moving it, you can, maybe there's a way to convert it to a linked file. Maybe there's a way to pin all these elements so that they don't. Yes, so let's try to pin, and now let's try again. Then move pin elements. Okay, so I'm sure there's a way to move this without causing this mess, but well, we'll figure it out later. Anyway, this is what we have to do. And now I've shown you how to work with steel trusses. I've shown you how to work with wooden elements. And well, just with a little bit of patience, we can clear all these small defects that we have in our drawing. But well, it's not a big deal. Okay, so this is the first way to do it. As you can see, it's not easy, and I think the next way it's gonna be much easier than this one, and probably it can cause less issues or less trouble. So I'm going to hide in view elements, and now I'm going to show you a different way to do that. We are going to use the same green lines. Okay. And what view am I going to work with? Yes, so let's work with the south elevation. And but now we have to create a first sketch with a real dimension, and then we're going to use the architecture component model in place. Okay, let's do this. But first we need to, what is the thickness of our, it was the beams. Okay, it was 12 by 16. So it's 8 inches. Great. Cancel. So I'm going to go to architecture, and I'm going to use the offset tool, and I'm going to type here 8 inches. And I'm going to start tracing those elements. Okay. So let's start doing this. Just to start, we can trim. I need this to be an offset as well. Usually the top chord is always, I'm going to offset twice or even 3 times. Offset, and it's going to be 16, 20. And now I'm going to extend this here. Why am I doing this? Because I'm not going to code anything now. I'm going to draw it the right way from the beginning. And then to finalize, I can work with 8 inches here. And I finish this element here and there. Okay. This. Okay. Now I'm going to create architecture component model in place, and this is going to be structural framing. There's yeah, so we have structural framing here. So I'm going to design my own truss. The problem is that this is not a family, and I can't move it. I can't change the shape. But on the other hand, it will be more accurate, and I think it will be easier to create. So let's do it. So let's work with extrusion. I have to pick a plane, and as always, I don't remember what grid I'm working with. So let's go to level 0, and I'm working with this grid line now. Its number or its letter P. Okay, so we're at the south elevation, and we have to set this on grid P. Okay, and now I can use extrusion, and I can pick the elements that I have already created. I can pick this line and this line. And I'm going to finish here, and this and this. Now I can trim, and the only thing I have to take into account is that this has to be a closed shape. Okay, so I can't leave open ends, so I have to make sure that everything is well trimmed. This is okay, and what about here? I need another line here. Okay, see? Great. And now on the 3D view, I just need to give this element the right width. The extrusion is 1 inch. Yeah, I think it was 12 by 16. So this is the right shape. Okay, probably this is not the right because it goes above the roof, but it's a question of the initial. Yeah, so I can always edit in place, and I think the original. Yeah, now I see. Okay. I have to move this down, and I have to move this up to this point. And now here. Okay, so now it doesn't go out of the roof. Well, it's still that. But anyway, we can fix that easily. And well, this seems easier. In theory, the other one is better in working with a truss family because with the truss you can calculate the structure. Here we are just modeling. We're not calculating anything. We're not calculating any structure. So we can work with this option as well. It's up to you. Try both of them. I would appreciate if I open the Revit file and I find that you have tried two different ways to do this. Probably this is easier, but you have to make sure that you are working with the right auxiliary element, and then you can create a component, and then you can do it easily. And for the structural material, we can always assign. I don't know if we have laminated wood. No, this is not. Do we have pine? Plywood, softwood. we can always assign a material, and then with material, if you're going to render this, it will be it should be the material. Well, maybe there's not a texture for this material, but yeah, we can do it. Okay, and now what's next? Yes, we have a wall here, so we have to figure out how this wall works. And here we have a different structural elements. Okay, so there is always um, there's a beam matching the vertical elements of this truss. And well, doing this is a piece of cake because we just have to. We can either try to insert a beam, or we can work with the with modeling in place. I'm not happy with this because I think they should be underneath the roof. Yes, let's do it. A extrusion. I'll move this down, and then I will align this here. Okay. And now the beam, we can create change model. Yes. Now we can go to architecture, component, model in place. Oof, I'm still having the same problem. I have to work with structural framing, and I can work with extrusion, and then I can start tracing. Well, first set a grid P, the same grid that we were working with. Yeah. And now we can do something like that. Finish. And on that 3D view, we can extend. No. Yeah. We can extend this element in this direction and the other direction. Okay. And now we do have these beams here that go up to the end of the roof. Okay, so we make it transparent. Yeah, we can see that this beam goes almost here. Okay, so when you are done with the truss and you have this vertical element, you can always work with this. I would work with the component model in place because then you can adjust the shape of the beam to the shape of the roof. That's always, I think it looks nicer. And you can always assign material, the same material that we have been assigning to the rest of the truss. Okay, so this is the difficult, yeah, so creating this truss is difficult. I think this way is easier than working with an actual truss. It's up to you. And now the rest of the building or the rest of the structural elements, I don't think there's an issue with this, because here we have structural columns in this line. So we have grid lines and we have structural columns. So we can always insert structure column. Do we have a concrete? Okay, so here we don't have wooden elements. So I don't want a concrete column. I can insert family. I have columns, wood. So now in structure, I have no, it's in architecture, column, architectural column, and we have this wood timber, 8 by 12. Let me see how it looks. Okay, it's better in this direction. Well, now we don't need this drawing, we can hide it because we have the reference line. Now I have to see what it looks like. Yep. We can attach it to top base. And now, oh, that's interesting. If you see this, we can attach it to the top base, and well, we have this point. This is because the attachment is at minimum intersection, but we can make it at maximum intersection, and now this looks better. And now we can copy on this multiple. Copy multiple. Well, be careful. Yeah, be careful because the grid lines are not. Yeah, there's a moment in which we have a different module. Yes, I remember that there were two modules here. This is a long building. So we have the same module here, but then there it changed. Anyway, you can do it easily. And by having this, we have this element. And there was another beam. Okay, once we have created that beam, we can copy. And now we can make it longer. Okay. You can repeat all these elements And there's another structural line. I think now we need to see the original plan. There's another structural line here, you see, at this intersection. So we can copy all these, copy here. And there will be another beam there. So there will be another beam here, and there will be beams at the top of each vertical element of the truss. And finally, we have to create this beam system. Uh, so we have created all these columns, and now we have to create this beam system here. So this is the beam at the top of the columns, and then we have beam systems at the top of these beams. We can make it next week, but I think we're almost done with this model, because now once we have solved the big structural element, this one, now it's just a question of creating the small structural elements, and then we're just connecting columns. So we have to connect all these columns in this direction, and then we have to connect all these columns in the other direction. And that's it. We only have the envelope, the walls, but I don't know, we have to figure out where the walls are, and then we have to insert windows. But I think the most challenging element is this truss here. Well, there's a huge beam here. This is thicker than that one. I don't know why. There should be a structural reason for that. But and we have this gutter. Okay, so this is pretty much what we did in the first assignment. You remember that we get all this water here, and then we get rid of it with this gutter that is, yes, so it stands out from this part of the building.